sir?
Yeah, it's $95 million. It will be $1 million for each of the 5 years of the Farm Bill. $1 million for each school for each year. That's $5 million for each school. There are 19 schools. 19 times 5 million is 95 million. So, and the reason for that is because these 1890 African American colleges and universities, when they offer the 4-year scholarships, they need to know that the money will be there to cover those years. Secondly, by tying it into the 5 years of the Farm Bill, then it becomes a continuing appropriation. So that as you get to the end of the 5 years, here comes another 5 years, you will be able to get at a minimum the $95 million again for the next 5 years. That's very important. Then we're serious to be able to give these African American schools the confidence to know that that money will be there on a continuing basis. $5 million for each 5 years as a continuing appropriation. Because this is important. These schools, each of their curriculums are grounded in science, technology, engineering, math, computer networking, computer programming. That is the future of agriculture businesses. And it is important that we get all people in. The other unique thing is that people of all races go to the African American schools. While they are African American, they have students from every walk of life, from every race, creed, and color going to them. And we need to get people into agriculture from every background, from every race. And it begins to deal so that we can begin to reverse this policy of our food producers. At 60 years of age, we need to start bringing that back down, because if we do not, then we can become vulnerable to depending on other nations for our most basic need, food. Agriculture is still our most important industry. We can do without a lot of things, but we cannot ever do without food. And secondly, this great earth is the same earth that the Lord created thousands and thousands of years ago. But what has changed? More and more people. And that's where these schools come in, because it takes science and technology and research to be able to continue find ways of providing the food and nutrition for the people of the world with a growing population. This is a great challenge. Now, what is critical here is that while we have the language in this bill says that each of these schools will get $1 million per year for each of the 5 years of the Farm Bill on a continuing basis. We don't want nothing to happen to that. And in order to do that, that money has to be there. And we feel it should come from what is known as the CCC, which has access to billions of dollars. And this $95 million that will be going out to these African American colleges and universities will account for less than 1% of the entire budget of the CCC. And then it will be Sonny Perdue, our agriculture secretary, has the vast jurisdiction to determine how all of the billions of dollars in the CCC is spent. And Sonny Perdue, our Agriculture Secretary, is one of the chief backers of this bill. And we have great Republican and Democratic co-sponsorship, as I mentioned in the hearing. We have, of course, Kevin Cramer, as I mentioned, North Dakota, the first Republican sponsor of this bill, and the House. And we have Senator David Perdue, who is providing the leadership in the Senate, joined with all of us Democrats and Republicans. And we have support from Ranking Member Debbie Scott. As you heard, her opening statement talking about the need for this bill there in committee. And Senator Roberts, who's the chairman. And as I said, one of the things that's so important to realize that over this past week, we had two great funerals for great people, John McCain and Aretha Franklin. And at each of those funerals, there was a great cry from the nation to see members of Congress from both parties, Democrat and Republican, to work together. The minister who gave the eulogy at Aretha Franklin, Reverend Jasper Williams, spoke passionately for the need for us to work together. At John McCain's funeral, it was President Barack Obama and President George Bush spoke passionately about the need for bipartisanship. Well, this $95 million is a glorious example of Democrats and Republicans working together. That's the only way it's going to happen. Democrats and Republicans must work it together.